Welcome to Talking in Stations, a podcast about EVE Online. Today we're going to talk to CCP Ratati and Goodfella about the state of EVE Online, some of the stuff that's coming up, and the economy, of course. So we're going to have everybody introduce themselves and their bunker hair in just a second. Let's start alphabetically with Arya.
Hello, good morning. My name is Arya.
Who are you?
I'm been playing EVE for about 10 years. I live in Nullsec in the Imperium.
Awesome. CCP Ratati?
Hi, everyone. I'm CCP Ratati. I'm the lead producer of the EVE ecosystem segment, and I don't live in Null.
And by the looks of your camera, you're Galenti.
Master Race.
Okay. Elise Randolph.
Hello. I'm Elise Randolph. I'm formerly an FC for Pandemic Legion, and now I just kind of kick around and do stuff all over the
Retired FCs. And finally, Ron, welcome back.
Hey guys, Ron USMC. I am one of the founders of Test, an FC. I've been on a break for a little bit, and I'm here by special request from Carneros. Who can deny him anything? Right. You know, if he asks me, I'm here for you, brother.
Yeah. Oh, I skipped because it's got a bracket on it. CCP Goodfella, of course.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm CCP Goodfella, brand director of EVE Online. Take care of all the coordination of the marketing efforts of EVE Online, and then work with development on all the projects, how to talk about them and when to release them, etc.
Yeah. Last time we saw you, you were here to restrain Hilmar.
Yes.
I was like, wow, that's
now
a job.
I'm here to restrain Ratati.
Good. All right, well, let's get started. There's a lot to cover. You guys are very busy. This is about FanFest season because, unfortunately, due to real-life pandemic concerns, there is no FanFest. So right about now is when a lot of stuff is being released to tell you what would have been told to you at the Iceland meetup. So we'll start with the latest thing, and that is this trailer that just came out. It's the Q2 trailer. What can you tell us about that trailer?
So the trailer went live on Thursday, and like you said, since we are living in a crazy world, unfortunately now, where everybody has to stay at home, we couldn't have FanFest, and so instead of being all together in Harpa watching the trailer, seeing it live, we had to create another form of reveal. So we sort of blasted all social media channels, put it in the launcher, in-game notification, worked with the CSM also for them to ping their audience, and created, instead of a reveal moment online, I think the end number was that 9,000 people were watching the premiere together on Thursday. So whilst, of course, being together in Harpa would be much more fun, I think it was also, even I got sort of involved, excited for the countdown when it was starting and seeing it live together. But if I go more into the trailer itself, I think it's been a lot of fun seeing people try to dissect what's happening in the trailer. Some people want to know more information immediately. Just to each their own. I understand that point of view, but more information is coming soon and will be coming throughout the quadrant instead of everything being released at once.
Are you guys having fun, reading the theories of what everyone else is, or what people are guessing, and then being either spot on or just completely on the other side of reality?
Yeah, it's fantastic also just to see the various ideas, and some of them are ideas we hadn't even thought of and maybe we'll just implement. Others are just spot on. Others are like completely way off. But it doesn't matter. What's entertaining is to see the enthusiasm of trying to decipher what's in the trailer.
I really liked the trailer. The graphics and the audio were amazing. The hints to the third chapter, the Triglavian invasion, which is really great for lore folks. We had a lot of discussion on the Talking Stations episode. The new ship, new weapon systems. I see people getting excited about that, and possibly Stargates being turned off.
Yeah, I think that's a really good recap of the main discussion points people have had in the about the trailer.
It definitely felt like it was aimed at the existing player base of EVE Online. So do you have any plans for any newer trailers in the future to recruit new players? I think one of the ones that we use most commonly is the This Is EVE trailer, which is way back from 2014. And then there was a trailer last year for the official gameplay that focused on free to play and career options. So with maybe not this quadrant or maybe future quadrants, are there plans to have that new player trailer?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So this trailer definitely, I would say that the veterans understand more about the visuals of it, but still cinematic trailers just perform really well for new players. So what often is a really good 1-2 punch is a cinematic trailer, just like this one. But pairing it then up with the gameplay trailer, one is to sort of capture your enthusiasm, and the other then follows up in showing what the actual gameplay looks like. Even though this trailer is 90 seconds, it takes a tremendous amount of work to do it, and the end result is, of course, just like, I mean, the cinematic team is world class, basically, in what they do. So right now we're looking at what to do next. As you said, we already have a really good gameplay trailer that captures EVE, and it still is extremely relevant. We already have This Is EVE, and we use it for advertisements still. It's still... Today is a fantastic trailer. So instead of adding exact same things to our arsenal, I think it's more about creating more broad video segments that we can use for a variety of different things. And it takes about 2 to 4 months to do one world-class trailer. So we try to sort of be very careful in choosing what we do every year. Last year we did Invasion Chapter 1 trailer with the EVE players going into the abyss and finding the mothership. Then we did the community trailer around Vegas, which I think was fantastic. And then we did, of course, the end of year recap video, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, since last year, if you look at some of the older trailers, one of the things you notice is last year we had a 64-bit client. We've had all these graphical updates. And when you look back at the old trailers, they're still great. But the EVE looks a lot better graphically nowadays than it did in previous years.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair observation. They're always, you just see it like with the avatar now. If you guys have had the chance to look at that, the art team is always pushing the boundaries of what the game looks like. And when I hear people say like even 17 years old, I just think like, yes, it's been in live development and pushing the boundaries for 17 years. How many other games have been basically in development for now, like 17 years in live development and 6 years before that? So 23 years of effort has been put into this crazy universe.
Yeah, I went back and played an old game that was born same time EVE was born, and it just didn't age well. So you don't notice it, right? Because it's a slow boil. But if you go back to look at the beginning of even EVE, it would be hard to imagine playing a game like that these days. It's just not.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good observation looking at games that were released around the same time and have not been developed to see how far EVE has come in the 17 years of continuous iterations.
Right.
Yep.
Well, the another thing about the trailer is that it does cap a 3-chapter lore narrative or backstory that's been going on with the Triglavians. So there was chapter 1, as you mentioned, where the players go into abyssal space and stir it up, and then something follows them back out. And now it's unleashed as an invasion onto player territories and empire territories. Then the second chapter is an opportunity for players to pick if they want to fight against these new abyssal aliens or if they want to fight for them. And then this third one, it looks like the aliens are capturing the sun, the system, by turning the sun to their color, which is red. And in the process, we see a gate closing down. So we assume that this means that Triglavians will have the ability to close entrances and exits to systems or something along those lines.
Yeah, we've been, I think even like a lot of press have been trying to dissect and grab answers from us what is going to happen. Players will find out soon enough. What I can say is that this is the final chapter of the invasion. Triglavians come in 3, and this is. I think we have credibility in saying that now for the invasion. We're not just putting out a cinematic trailer of some story and then nothing happening in New Eden. We're not just writing some story in a book or a news item. This is what is happening in the universe, and the players impact how the story unfolds. And New Eden will not be the same after the Triglavian invasion.
So there's going to be a permanent change? Is that what you mean by it? Or like, are there going to be landscape changes?
There will be changes inside New Eden, permanent ones.
Oh, that's good. And will these be like one-time things, or will it be ongoing? Like, is this the beginning of an evolution, or is the place going to get burnt and then have to regrow?
I can't go into specifics, but I mean, New Eden will continue to evolve after the third chapter is over.
Okay. So I have to ask the question: with permanent changes, could we possibly get a low-sec gate to stain?
And now it's been put off another year.
Yeah. Since we asked,
every time we ask, another year.
That's an inside joke for EVE Online players. Let's talk China, because the Serenity server is back. It's going to go up, it looks like, in 2 days? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's soft launching in 2 days. So we're partnering up with Natties. So it's going to be extremely exciting. We have had now 1.5 years or something where there has been only like closed betas of people playing on the Serenity server. Even though we're rolling back the data, we've had a tremendous amount of hardcore EVE players from China still playing. So now that we're opening up the game, partnering up with the huge publisher and like really experts in their field, this will have a big impact not only on Serenity, but this will have a halo impact on Tranquility. That's just the way it is, and our learnings from the past with the EVE Echoes, Dust, and all that. This is like a celebratory moment not only for the Chinese players but for EVE as a whole. And with our also increased marketing efforts for Tranquility, we will see like 1 million players trying to go for experimenting and trying EVE for the first time in the next 3 months.
Wow, that's a crazy big number. A lot of people have been curious as to like just when Serenity is restarting, is it going to continue from where Serenity closed, or is it just like a fresh new start for everybody?
It will. I think I'm correct when I say okay.
It basically starts from like we froze in time the database, and it's we're doing the best we can to literally start from that point on. So even down to the project that I'm working on, or my team is working on right now, is to make sure that the 3-month history of contracts is still available to people. So stuff like that, we're really working on continuity.
Oh wow! So you're really just taking a snapshot and just continuing. That's very cool.
It's super difficult and crazy because it's like, how many years?
It's like a brain transplant.
Yeah, but it's like a lot of content that we've like Citadel, like all kinds of Citadel stuff, Sov changes, the whole Triglavian invasion it's all coming out. It's basically the biggest expansion of like all time in EVE is that like content drop.
Well, they had the biggest fight. Why shouldn't they have the biggest expansion?
Yeah, the biggest country as well.
Yeah. But so are they going to be running in parallel development with Tranquility, the Western server? So will they get the features at the same time?
They basically go into... we used to have a almost 3-month delay as we were localizing, making sure the content was okay and stuff like that. We're going into, I think, as close as we can be.
I think so. It's a week or two, basically, difference.
We strive for them being on the same content patch, same thing all the time.
All right, cool. So Tranquility will serve as their test center.
Exactly.
Well, what can you tell us about technology that's coming to the Tranquility server?
Yeah. So, as you guys have probably noticed, in 2019, we did put a lot of effort into sort of shoring up stability. There was chat was not in the best place. I think it's in a much better place now. We put a lot of effort into moving from 32-bit to 64-bit, which is like a massive undertaking for a 17-year-old computer game. Right now, the DX12 is up and running internally, and we're hoping to start beta testing this year. So that's going to be really exciting. And this, of course, talking about graphical changes to EVE. You guys can only imagine, for example, how excited CCP Burger is. This will really push the boundaries of what the game can look like in the long run. And then we are looking at sort of cutting edge technology, adding stuff to the infrastructure of the TQ server base. I'm not an expert on all of this tech jargon stuff, but there's more information coming from us in the coming weeks or months, I would say. And we are really going to be talking about this more because this is so important. I mean, how many computer games are investing in their hardware and technology foundations 17 years into the existence of the game?
And it's very good too because the player count has been kind of inching up and up and up every single week that I've been. I mean, I'm not like keeping a good chart on it or anything, but just like from rhetorical looking at it, it's like, oh, there's 36, there's 37, now there's 38,000, there's going to be 39,000 price. So it's very nice to see that you guys are investing in the back end stuff to make sure we can all blow each other up.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, I mean, I'm sure you guys have followed it. Last year, we talked about our investment in the NPE, and that is just what we're seeing is that it is paying off now. There's more and more players playing, and if you look at EVE offline numbers from the summer last year, if you around that area, you see a growth after the summer. A really steady growth. Then around the January, February, you see sort of just a baseline. There's not really a growth, and that is just the DDoS effects did have an impact on us. And then after we sort of got through the DDoS attacks, you see again an increase in the play numbers. Of course, I know that there are people at home now, everybody, so you will see every game has increased numbers, but what the pandemic has done is not changed the trend of where we're heading. It just simply increased or accelerated the trend of where EVE is heading.
We're also seeing a lot of reactivations, even before the pandemic, and I think we have these waves, at least this kind of like intuitively, of people who get fed up with the game and they come back when they think we've fixed the things that annoyed them. So I am truly thinking that our anti-botting efforts and some of the steps we've started to take, like to try to shake up the universe, are getting people back. A lot of people came back to the blackout because they thought like maybe this is a permanent change and it fixes something that I hated back in the day. So I think every time we do something and we make a bit of a splash and waves, there's millions of people who have played EVE, literally millions. And there's always like an off chance that a big group of them come back when they see their EVE coming back. So
yeah,
a lot of EVEs in the past.
The EVE player base and the EVE community, they seem like really in tune with the game, even when they stop playing. I think the EVE subreddit is probably the best example of this. People will just linger on there and like keep up with day-to-day activities, even though they're no longer playing. And so you're right, when they see these changes, they're like, oh, this is something that I didn't like. Let me try it again. And then they get sucked in for however long they get sucked in. Some people stay sucked in for a long time. Some people, maybe they're just like, it's a couple weeks, whatever. But it's always good to get those players back. And obviously you guys see better numbers, but my Steam friends list, there's a whole bunch of veteran players that come poking me for questions saying, hey, this is how this works, or how does this work? Just yesterday I had a friend say, hey, so how do these Fortizars work? Can I go to them and shoot people? And I have to like break down all Citadel mechanics for them.
That's great to hear. Really, really.
All right. Well, with players coming back and with success in removing bots, which have always been something that seemed unfair when players could program their gameplay to make them riches in the game while everybody else had to struggle, that always seemed unjust. And so you guys have done a good job taking care of that. According to your last blog, you've knocked it down like 80%. Was that right?
Yeah, that's right. It took almost 6 months for me to like get to grips with the whole thing, and then we could take radical action. It's not fixed forever. Like I won't promise that. And all games are dealing with it right now. Call of Duty Warzone kicking out thousands of cheaters, or PUBG had cheated. Like every game has cheating. Tarkov has a lot of cheating, especially market bots apparently. So there is. If you have an economy, you have bots, yes. We just need to like it. I feel that I know that we took our foot off the gas with botting. We didn't invest in it for a couple of years, and then it's like a cockroach infestation. They just come and grow, and then you just have to beat them out, and then like a lot of them leave. It's a very low hanging fruit kind of crowd. If it's tough, they just move to the easier game. If you're the easiest game, you're basically in a big trouble.
It's an expected value calculation for them.
And the business.
They're not here for the game. They're here for the money they can get out of the game.
Yeah. And like Snorri said, Ratati said, it's an investment. It's an arms race with them, basically, putting effort on our end. If we continue to put effort, of course, in the beginning there are easier things to do, to just like poof poof poof. But as long as we keep our foot on the gas, we will see continuous improvements. And I think what the team has done is just absolutely fantastic. As a gamer, there's nothing more annoying than knowing that there are people out there spotting.
Yeah, so let's go into the economy, because this all plays into the economy. Bots do terrible damage to an economy by creating abundance, also the feeling that you can never catch up to a robot. But let's go into the economy in general, where why don't we do a little bit of review? Goodfella, maybe you could take us back and tell us where to start when we look at the economy to conceptualize what you're doing and what you're going to do next.
Yeah, I mean, in 2019, for me personally, looking at 2019, the single best indicator of that the EVE economy was unstable is just looking at Plex prices and how crazy they were fluctuating. When you have high volatility in an economy, it is a signal of instability. So we wanted to change the direction of where the economy was heading. And also sinks and faucets were not in a great balance. Botting was, of course, a problem. So we sort of doubled down on the focus on the economy and also making the accountability more clear internally. So now anything that goes into the game, we do go through the hoops of thinking what is the impact this has on the economy. And there are now steps being taken, and I'm sure for some people, understandably, they feel like they're sort of they prefer the old way or something because things are being nerfed. But this is just the steps that are being taken in order to set ourselves up for the third decade. And yeah, so Ratati, do you want to take over here?
Yep, absolutely. Yes, what Simon says. I'll start with my how I see it. I joined the EVE team basically a year ago, and my first when I look at EVE, I come in and I did basically like an analysis of the state of EVE, like coming basically fresh from Project Nova. I'm given this chance to come in into EVE with a fresh pair of eyes. I've never worked on EVE, just for transparency. I only worked on Dust before and Nova.
But we should say that you had some expertise, right? Like you're not just...
Yeah. I'm not like a rando off the street, no. I was...
We got you at the bus stop.
This guy looks good. Let's get him.
I fit the part.
Yeah, so basically, before I did any game development work, I was the senior director of FP&A, which is... I was responsible for all plans, business plans, analytics, monetization, like all those kinds of things.
He's an Excel nerd, TLDR.
Yeah, I know some things. So I worked with all these teams, specifically like World of Darkness, EVE, and Dust. And that's I only started working on Dust because I was a Dust player, really, and I was available, like I was available in for EVE last year. And yeah, so I have a master's degree in statistics and engineering. So I have the background and I have the experience from Dust. And I was asked to basically do a health check on EVE. And the first prognosis was that bots were the biggest problem, like by far. Just from a sentiment perspective, but also from an economic perspective. Look, all that inflation and all that is coming to the game, coming through bots. So that was the big destabilizer for EVE. So that was my focus for the first 6 to 9 months. And then we did the reorg in September, November. And then it turns more into like a health focus rather than like an anti-bot focus. And from a health perspective, there were a lot of things that I saw that I didn't like, and in some way it's a change of directions. some things were decided back in the past where I like, and I'm simply trying to make a change to some of those design philosophies. They were made 5 years ago. Things happened, and now there's a new design philosophy, and you can see that in the ecosystem blog. That we are like, I don't like self-sufficiency. I want trade or conflict. I don't care, but like neither of them is those things is generated with self-sufficiency. If you're self-sufficient, you can just sit in your own corridor and make your own things. You don't have to interact with anyone or take anything away from anyone. So that's the first thing. I want people to travel in the universe. I want them to be like, have to have convoys. They have to move stuff around. So that's why we're working on the geographical distribution. And finally, and now I can't remember my third one. I have to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look 5 years ago, like, I mean, I don't even think, or Elise or Matterall, like, could you imagine 5 years ago that we would be sitting, like, in game financially where we are now? It's like, who could have guessed, I guess, the innovative gathering of players in EVE and our ability to do something the most efficient way 1,000 times over,
Well, I bet at least could. He was an OTEC. He's one of the brokers of that.
I think one of the crazy things about EVE Online is the players will always find the way to min-max to the extreme. Like, it's just something that EVE Online teaches you early on that you have to do. And as these social groups get more and more complex, they apply that to every facet of running an organization. So you watch, organizations say, hey, we don't need to go out and fight over X, Y, and Z. It's more efficient if we just plug people here and get more people so we can plug even more people in here and build this massive space empire.
I think EVE players' ability to organize at scale and organize their efficiency will always be underestimated. Like, it's just that's the learning from the 17 years of the game. It's just what the EVE players can achieve is just crazy. And one example of that is Project Discovery, the exoplanets. The scientists in Geneva, Michel Mayer and them, we had told them about EVE players' ability to what they were able to achieve, and still, after hearing from the scientists themselves, it's just they were mind blown about both the quality and the quantity of submissions they have received. Just the EVE players will always blow people's mind in their ability to achieve things.
Yeah, there's a little something about that. I don't know if people know, but it's really hard for astronomers to get telescope time. That's actually very difficult to book, even if you're a university, especially university professors. They fight for the time to schedule a certain gaze in a certain direction on those things, and it's precious. So looking at these exoplanets is something that is usually not given a lot of time on telescopes. So to be able to explore the stars without using those telescopes is a big deal. And I think what's interesting is there's some relationship between the Nobel Prize recently and exoplanets. Am I right?
Yeah, there was something on it, I believe. But I know that Michel got the Nobel. No, it was the Wolf something prize for his exoplanet first discovery, and then there was something the other day. But I must admit, I'm not like 100% on that. But it's
a world. It's basically an award from the world science community about work done on exoplanets.
Yeah, exactly. And that award is given like every 4 years or something like that. And like you said, getting time to look at certain places is like it's a really long bottleneck. But this world is just absolutely fascinating, and the EVE players have helped a lot is just analyzing the data, and the amount of it does take a lot of time for the scientists.
So there's a couple things that are interesting about this, and this is why I'm interrupting kind of the Eve talk for it. One is we're all in the middle of a pandemic, which is microbiology, a situation that is deadly for many people. And you had the very first time you had CCP use EVE Online to do some science, it had to do with proteins, and so it was microbiology there too. And now you're using that same brain power to look at exoplanets, which is something that's hard to get time for on telescopes. And you can just see how science plugs right into it's not just the game, but it plugs into the players that are attracted to this game, a certain mindset, a certain diligence, a certain smartness on how to figure out a better way to do things. And then you're using it for good.
Exactly. It fits in right with the game, with the players. And for example, fun fact: these images from the first version, discovery proteins, if you will. These images, when they were shown to our art and creative directors at the time, they asked, "What did you do to these images to make them look so Eve?" And there was nothing that was actually done. These are just the images from the source. There was nothing done to them, but you can see how Eve they actually feel.
They look like some of the new skins on for Triglavians. Wild.
But on I was talking to CCP Mastermind about this exact thing. How do we promote violence in a way? We want conflict, we want destruction, we want fun, and we use these real world analogies like scarcity or these what are they called? Flashpoints. There's flashpoints that like these trigger areas that always kind of cause violence all over the world, usually borders or some kind of resource. And he said and we're talking about this and why is it so difficult to push conflict in Eve? And it's basically because in the real world, it's not as easy to just fucking say, hey, let's trade about it. Let's trade for it. Let's just put down arms and trade. You get this, I get this. We're all happy, and we sit there and because you have all these human emotions and different countries and nationalities, it's not as prevalent in Eve. Obviously, there are factions, but it's easier just to put down the swords and trade. And that's what happens most of the time. People just say, okay, this war is going to lose us more than we're going to win, and that's rational, and we're all rational people, so let's get the business done. In the real world, people aren't rational at all, so that doesn't happen as often. And usually wars start because of personal grievances. Literally someone just wants to have revenge on another person in Eve. Those are sometimes the trigger points, but we'll keep striving to create conflict in Eve through these means. If everyone becomes a pacifist and just wants to sit there and never fight, I don't know what to do. But we're hoping that people still feel this interest or emotion to keep fighting, to win. We want ultimately we want people to win the game, and then the new people come in. You were talking, Ron, about before Test coming in, being the new bros, no one having faith, and now
Yeah, and I posted that link, in the back channel, and it's and that was the thread that started Dreaded.
Describe that from the beginning so people know.
Yeah, so this was in February of 2010, and it was an image of all of the spaceships in Eve, and how much time and effort and, like real world money these are worth, and how long they took to make. And under that thread, someone, Fletcher, who was our first CEO, said, "Hey, are any of you guys interested in forming a corp? Out of Dreadit, you never know. We could be as strong as Bob or Goons. You never know." And but like 2 lines down, right? 2 replies down, it's like, don't even bother. Everybody's already set. All the big pilots are already with corporations. Nobody's going to move. It's a waste of time. You'll never catch up skills wise, right? And this is 10 years later, and now we're, one of the biggest in the game. Like I think it's, I always tell people, it's always a good time to start, because you never know, what the future can hold, right? You never know, like what group you get into or what kind of fights you get into, or it's fun,
Well, you need a
Fantastic
Villy.
story.
Yeah, it's like have Villy add water. Oh, big coalition. He's an underrated. By the way, he's an underrated player, even at the top of the game. If you look at his history, he's made some big impacts in the game that you have to look at carefully to see how they ripple out. Go ahead, Arya. Sorry.
Yeah, you mentioned uncertainty, and one of the things you mentioned was that scarcity breeds war, and that's at the top of the article as one of the visions for these changes. But as we enter this shortage phase, we have scarcity, but our neighbors also have scarcity, because we have not gotten to the distribution phases later on in the ecosystem updates. So for casual players, they may see this as it's limiting their choices or options. And so as we enter the Eclipse quadrant, what can we share? What can you share to them? What can they look forward to as we're entering the shortage period, and we know redistribution will be later?
What can I say? We had to rip the Band-Aid off. Am I not saying anything? Hello. Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I said you can say anything. You're among friends. Yeah. Feel free.
Yeah, we'll keep it secret. Don't worry. Yeah, no one will know.
To me, we had to rip the Band-Aid off. Like, we had to do some bad things and kind of stack them quickly and get it over with, and then start building the new future. And moon mining is going to be it's going to be okay. That's what we said in the first moon mining dev blog. We are going to make it great again. Just don't panic. Keep your Athenors and your R2 rigs. It's fine. Just wait for it. If you don't want to wait for it, someone else will, and you can move your Athenor or whatever. It's your choice. But we're going to do something. We just didn't want everything coming from everywhere from the same source. I want T2 to coming from moons, where basic ores are coming from high sec, low sec, null sec. I want to trade between the areas. I want to trade into Wormhole and back again. I want the spice to flow, and I want the spice to be interruptible. I want it to be sabotaged. I want these movements in space. And that's the first big thing. I know we've been pretty heavy on the nerfing part, and I think we can look forward to Quadrant 3 being happier times. We're going to bring back some of these resources and different uses of the resources in an interesting way. So it's all going to get better soon.
I think you might have just set yourself up for a lifetime of Dune memes with your face on them now with the spice must flow. But I think at some level, players, whether they want to accept it or not, I think they understand that the economy, or that they've had it too good for too long. And it kind of becomes meaningless, right? If you have this massive amount of wealth and your friend has also the same amount of massive wealth, it becomes meaningless, right? Because you should value it based on what someone else has. So I think at some level, whether they're not players are happy about it, they understand that this needs to be done. And it's interesting that you guys are doing it, trying to do it so quickly, right? Because we're talking about like, if you want to say that this vision, or the previous vision, had been going on for 5 years, you're talking about fixing it or shocking the system in just a few months, right?
At least, like, we could have done it slower, but then it becomes this kind of almost like a desert. What do you call it? Like these 40 days in the desert. It's just like nerfing slowly over time, and we didn't really want to like go that route. We wanted to amputate and move on. I think that was the best description. I think there's, for example, new things that we have been working on. If you want to talk about things that your neighbor also has and you have, so it's fine. We want to create something that is, that's not a secret really. First part of the dynamic distribution that we talked a lot about are time limited anomalies. So they appear and they disappear, and there's a period of time where you can mine, and we want to start introducing that kind of content. So, for example, even if there's no tritanium in nullsec right now, we have the ability to put it in and take it out, or basically there's a gold mine of tritanium in this area or this system right now, go. And then it moves, or you have to scan it down or find it. And that kind of content, rather than this, it's always in my backyard kind of content. So that is also bringing back some of these resources back into null, for those that want to chase it, if it's still lucrative. And like, that's another tool in our tool set, is this kind of content. It's similar to another content, like an idea that people talked about in the past. There's this comet kind of content that kind of goes from system to system, depleting, or has this, and you have to chase the comet. Like, that kind of stuff is dynamic, and it's more interesting than just static anomalies in your soft.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think it was Aria who asked this question. I think it's a fantastic question to ask. I mean, there is a concern from players on this, and players should always be able to speak up, and we are listening and monitoring what players are saying, and we're also monitoring what happens inside the game. I think if we go back to 2019, the volatility of the economy, the imbalance of faucets and sinks, personally, and I would say it's hard to argue that there was a good, healthy balance there. There are steps that need to be taken for such a complex ecosystem to get to a healthier place. Sometimes those steps hurt for certain people. Just the way it is, the team is, like you can hear, taking certain steps, monitoring it, analyzing it, and then adjusting course if needed. But we are listening to concerns that people have. We are monitoring data. So there is a long-term plan, and that plan also can be adjusted depending on how things go.
Right. And I think that's where the players have some concern, because in your vision, you mentioned that all players are deeply engaged in a universe full of non-repetitive activities. Well, PvE has traditionally been repetitive, and it's pretty lucrative, depending on what you're doing. We've now gotten rid of the amount of money you're making in nullsec, for example.
Mining money. Yes.
We know we have scarcity. We know we have scarcity now, but there's no one to engage with because we don't have the rebalancing of resources. There's no enemy to attack to get that scarce resource that I can't get anymore. And then we also have the situation where a lot of players are stuck in their homes because of what's going on in the world with the pandemic. So now, as we're entering this Eclipse phase, I think a lot of players want to know, I see the goalposts. You shared that with us. Are we going to see it soon? When can we start seeing some of these things? Because we're home right now. We want to play Eve, but the things that we're used to doing are being taken away. So is this something like a quadrant 3, quadrant 4 sort of thing where we start seeing this turning around, or will we start to see in this quadrant going a little bit beyond the shortage phase and maybe seeing some of these items in the goalpost?
I mean, I think, Snorri, you touched upon that. Sorry, go ahead.
There's a lot of things happening just straight in Q2. Like quadrant 2 is the ecosystem outlook is meant to be the quadrant, like the outlook, the outlook for the quadrant to come. So it's not like this is what we hope to achieve in the next year or so. But it's basically laying down. This is what we think the situation is right now, and what we're thinking for the next 3 months. Maybe some of those things are not achievable, but most of them are. If they don't come to fact into the game, it's because we purposely delayed them because we saw some changes happening or something happened in the community or the ecosystem that we didn't anticipate or we weren't happy with. But all of the things that we're talking about are actionable and are happening. And the plan is to do another, this becomes a quarterly thing, central bank style, where we kind of like say, here's the current state of the economy. We want to want to change the inflation rate or bank tax or like those kinds of things. So we want to be kind of steadily guiding the economy with a regular basis.
And I think being able to discuss this just in this sort of style is really good, because often the tone or something can get misread when you just read a news item. So it's not like we want to avoid discussing these topics. These are very, very important things to go into. And like Snorri said, there are a lot of good things coming. There's still the healthy cadence of balance changes will be going on. And there are good things coming in quadrant 2. And then as soon as these tough changes are through, there will be more prosperity and more things to look forward to for that specific group, right? I mean, it's not just doom and gloom for everybody or something like that. There are fantastic things that are coming, but I also 100% understand that a certain segment feels they're being attacked.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to just kind of reiterate what Elise was talking about a little bit ago. And I just want you guys to just rest assured that we all knew things had to change. We all knew it. And it was, and we knew that it was going to have to be something drastic. Like, we were all sitting on our piles of gold. It took me 8 years to get my first Titan, 6 months to get my second, 3 or 4 months to get my third. Like, we knew something was that. We knew we needed it. Now, we might not have admitted it or, talked about it, but, you got to stop eating ice cream sometime. So, charge ahead. It's going to be all right. We're going to be fine. And no matter what you come up with, we're going to find the way to make it the most efficient. We're going to min-max it, and you're going to have to hit the drawing board again. So keep on going, guys.
And I mean, and the people speaking out that they feel attacked or they don't like it, we are listening 100%. And I feel like people are doing this because they love EVE and want to play EVE and want to enjoy it. So I 100% understand their point of view. It's just something that needs to be done. And we are not trying to maximize EVE for the short term. We are setting up foundational stuff for the long run. And that's why also we've put heavy investment and resources into the NPE. It's not to cater to the veterans in the short term and focusing. This is to see EVE outlive us all. That is sort of the ultimate goal, and all our decisions are based on that. And I know for some this may suck in the short term, but we are doing this for the long-term health of the game.
That is really great to hear, because I think EVE players, more than any other gaming players, I think they focus more on the intentions of a change rather than the change itself, if that makes sense. So being able to hear, hey guys, there is a problem that's caused stagnation, that's actually caused you to stop playing the way you want to play, and here's our solution to it. We're going to be iterating this on quarter. It's not just like a one and done thing. I think that's going to be very reassuring to a lot of people, whether, that they might still have that little sting of the Band-Aid being ripped off, but they'll, as soon as the sting fades away, they'll say, hey, you know what, they're doing this for the right reasons. And they'll be more cautiously optimistic. At least that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to. This is what I had to do on Dust 514. Just bringing that up again. We did the same exact thing. I came in, did a lot of analytics like 3 to 6 months of studying what was actually wrong with the game, and then we rolled out hot fixes, patches for a year. And they were all just to get everything going back again, like balance changes, sentiment changes on the forums. I started going to the forums back again. I started replying to the ecosystem Outlook, devlog, etc. So that's what I enjoy. I enjoy the discourse. Yeah, I see you smile. I do enjoy it. I enjoy reading through it and like taking notes. Comparing like feedback from this guy, wasn't he saying that in a different thread? And you're like, okay, is there something there that I do like that, and my desk is full of post-it notes where someone said something like that I pick up and I try to like act on it. And
you're vengeful.
No, from a good point. I'm not I'm not making a shit list. Yeah, no. No, but I am like a sponge for information, and I listen to a lot of people, and I try to take it in and kind of get a gauge on what's actually wrong. And I think you're both spot on. Something needed to happen. Not everyone admitted that it needed to happen, but by no means are we trying to target anyone or like a specific group of people or null sects or alliances or goons. Like absolutely not. Like we're just trying to like fix the underlying problems so everyone can move on and keep fighting. And another thing that I hear sometimes is it's a cash grab or something. Like the last thing we would do is to do something like this if we're trying to cash grab. We would do like there's way more cash grabby things to do for a 13-year-old game. I
want to talk about gold ammo, but McLeod is not allowing.
We're going to silence him.
No, but also, I mean, if you go to EVE Offline and look at the player numbers and what we see in the back end, in 2019, 150,000 people logged into EVE for the first time. In the first quarter of 2019. And these are human beings. These are not alt accounts or somebody. These are new human beings trying out EVE for the first time. In the first quarter of 2020, 325,000 people tried out EVE for the first time. So this is double the amount of people coming into the game if you compare quarter and quarter. And we see the retention numbers are holding, which is like a fantastic achievement both for the performance marketing team and the NPE team, how they've been able to keep people longer into the game. Like these are, and you see in the EVE Offline numbers how the player numbers are rising, the PCU. Of course, we on our back end, we have all sorts of other analytics, but I think the PCU is the public facing one, so it's fine to use as a discussion point. And yes, pandemic definitely does accelerate any trends. You can clearly see that, but it is that's what it's doing. It's accelerating the trend. It's not changing it.
And I actually dare you all to create a new alt account and go play the latest new player tutorial. It is by far the best, I think, and I think it's a unanimous feeling from all of us that it's like a huge step in the right direction.
And we will know it's an alt account.
Let's talk about that.
Tutorial, is that live for every new player, or is it still sort of in the AB mode where we might get it, we might not get it?
it's still AB, so it might need some number of tries to get to it, but you'll see as soon as the UI is basically being slowly revealed now, instead of just blasting everything to you. So we're
Full
slowly revealing
19 Neocom buttons. Yep.
it.
So basically, if you start a new character, and you see your full UI, then we know that's not the new tutorial.
Yeah, I think
we should
so, yeah.
delete and try again. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, there's a couple things I want to bring up, and I want to push back on my friend Ron and Elise, and the easy conception that things were broken and they needed to be fixed. I think that on a large scale, a lot of people would agree with that. But for the people that are the problem, right? Kind of like Ron, actually.
Yeah,
like,
I'm part of it. I guarantee it. Yeah. Mr.
Titan 3 times over. The people who are the problem, what do they have to look forward to? Because it seems to like it's going to be a lot of pain for them until a point where what they had is more valuable because less people have the same stuff they had. And if everybody freezes in place and doesn't risk anything and doesn't lose anything, how does that even ever happen?
I mean, if EVE is a competitive game, and if people will not adjust, there are other people's coming for their assets or space or whatever. EVE to this date is still a fantastic thing. You can find anything you want to do in it. I know maybe I sound like a condescending asshole now. Just find something else to do in EVE.
But that's what you're saying, right?
There are so many fun things to do in EVE. So many different things to fall in love with. So for the people that feel like we are being attacked, this is for the long-term benefit of the game. It seriously is. And there are so many things both to do now and to look forward to.
Well, let's take a look at like Goon Swarm, right? They're a big group. They had way too many Titans. It became like embarrassing to see them sit on tribute, an empty tribute, because there was no contest there. And you think like that's the group that we need to break up. Now, I'm not saying that's what you think. That's what like people like me would think. That's an indicative group of the problem. We need to stop that steamroller. And to do that, we need to make what they have harder to get. And now they're thinking, not everybody is Goon Swarm, because you have a group like Bastion that's associated but not part of it. And those guys are the mid-tier alliances, and they're going to feel the squeeze too. And so if you're saying, hey, go to LowSec. If you can't really handle being out here, then go to LowSec. What incentives does LowSec really have for them? Or are you guys, do you have a roster of more carrots for them to alter into other gameplay styles instead of sitting on the game style that seems to be N+1 imminent right now?
Yeah, I mean, the quadrant stuff, the concepts, it has really allowed us to touch quickly and more efficiently on various styles of gameplay or places or spaces in EVE. If you look at Quadrant 1, from Wormholes with Love update, where we solely focused on wormholes and improved the quality of life things in wormholes and had an event there and everything. And then we had loyalty to LowSec at the end update. And for example, now we're seeing, and I'm not joking, we're seeing double the number of PvP kills in LowSec after the update than before, if you compare just days and days. So this quadrant stuff has enabled us to move more quickly, try out things, and if they don't work out, then we just adjust. If they do work out, then do we improve it further, or do we move on to the next one, etc. And what the development team has been doing is just fantastic in that respect. You have especially two teams focusing on that, both from like an event side and also balance changes or quality of life things. It's been like so much fun to work with them on these things, how to plus it, when to time it, what they're doing. Seeing them also work together is absolutely fantastic, like picking up each other's work. So there's a lot of momentum going for that stuff.
So that's interesting. Matterall was asking, like, what are the carrots that you have in store? And some of the carrots could just be like, hey, here's an event in a certain area of space. So if you're feeling down in the dumps that you can't mine a Titan in 2 weeks, here's cool stuff that you can do elsewhere, and kind of get people in on the action.
But the game has become
the question.
Oh, go ahead. Let me see if this. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So organized people are going to win disorganized people all the time. Like no one's going to solve that ever. What we can do is try to, and people who have amassed wealth in a prior legacy, basically, we're not going to take it away from them. So what we need to do is we can't do that in one. We could do it. We could just remove them all, or
remove asset safety,
deteriorate, or what, something like that. But that would just drive them away, and it's unfair, and it's changing rules midstream. We won't fix the organized problem. They're going to win if they're more organized than everyone else, whoever that is. And I'm not saying goons. There's been big alliances in the past that were also organized. We can't take it away from them, but we can over time start creating ways for other people to become competitive, and that is something that we are trying to do through trying to solve the N+1 problem. And the N+1 problem can be solved, is our theory at least, with a very solid escalation path. Because if and that's a big part of the ecosystem blog, is to introduce that concept of actually tying the knot to the escalation path to subcaps being proper supercap counters. So that's one of the things that kind of broke the whole rock paper scissors thing, was that when Titans and supercarriers became oppressive to everything else, if you finish that escalation path and subcap becomes a viable hard counter to Titans or supercarriers or whatever it pans out to be, then you have a way for Bastion or the mid tiers to actually just counter these 100 Titans with 1,000 subcaps, and then you have a new balance. And then you start not bringing out your Titans, all of your Titans at the same time, and then you start preserving them, and slowly over time they whittle away, and you have a healthier system again. There are ways to do it in a more oppressive way from us, to just say, okay, Titans need a new fuel. Fuel is X and is only here and there. Go. I've invalidated your whole fleet. It's not something we want to do, but it's something that we could do. But I'd rather give a subcap option to players and see what they do with that first.
And I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, after you.
I was going to say that this has sort of been the path the team has been on. I mean, one of the examples I can at least think of quickly is the removing Haas from Titans. And there are more news on balances to look forward to. You will be hearing from us in the next week or two with a fun update.
Oh, that's very cool. I remember, I think if you've played EVE long enough, you kind of remember a whole bunch of different changes. But the last time there was a big war not the last time, but one of the earlier big wars, there was an AoE Doomsday. And at the end of it, to celebrate, all these groups got together, they pushed their AoE Doomsday at the same time and ended up killing a carrier. So the idea was, now it's on the table that one group can just kill all the carriers with one button push. And so, Titans were nerfed then, they were given different things. And eventually Titans were nerfed to the point where the guns just didn't hit anything. And then people stopped using Titans. So I guess that's the example of the more extreme path that you could have taken. But I do like the idea that you want to introduce counterplay instead of that. So that is good. The other point I want to make is EVE is a very competitive game, and the most organized people, they've realized that right now, to win the competition, it's to build the biggest empire. It's not to take resources from someone else. It's not to fight or create trade routes or anything. It's just simply put, to build the biggest safe space where you can mine resources. And so that's what the competition is. So everyone else is competing just to build and build and build, which you guys have identified correctly as unhealthy. And it is very interesting to hear your side, where you want to make it so the more competitive people in the game, their goal isn't to make the biggest empire. They still can if they want to, but the most effective path to amassing resources will be to take it from someone else.
Yeah, I think it's not a doing jump in. It's just a good observation, and also it's not. I think your point about what you've talked about to me before about the clear always upgrading option.
Yeah, I think that's that's when we say negative feedback loop is like there was no choice made. Like it's always better to go to ADM5. There's no trade-off. Like it in a different world, you could have said like, okay, at ADM5 you have no titanium but loads of noxium. But at ADM4 you have loads of X or something else. Like so, you're always making some kind of choice, or maybe you have to pay like an oppressive fuel tax if you're at ADM5. But 4 is kind of okay-ish. So you're always making these trade-offs. Right now it's very linear. You just upgrade to the max, and that's the best, and you have everything. There was no trade-off. And I think if we can make smart changes like that, we could also start making people actually make choices in SOV and introduce more interesting stuff like that. But ultimately, people have said, like, why don't you just put a tax on this or that? It's not fun. And there's also there's human effort involved, and that is the kind of biggest negative feedback loop in Eve right now, is just to get people to do all the hard, dirty work that needs to get, like refueling and paying taxes and making the ledger and making sure that everyone's on time somewhere. Like that's all work, and it becomes more difficult as the alliance grows. So these logistics there are awful. Like they're truly awful. There's a lot of homegrown systems and manual labor that we could try to help with, because this kind of multiplies the organized factor. The most organized organizations will develop their own tools to do this, and the mid tiers won't have those tools, and that actually separates the mid from the max tier alliances at the moment. Is that kind of break even point of investment? Like, am I going to do this full time or not? That's kind of, I guess, the big change.
Okay, one last question from Arya real quick.
Yeah, the topic of asset safety, it's a topic that comes around every week in Talking Station Discord. It's in the Twitch chat today. And I noticed it's also in the article. With this quadrant 2, will we see some change to asset safety?
There is a change to structures that has a change to asset safety, but don't like pop your champagne, or don't or
don't evacuate.
Don't panic. Evacuate. Don't celebrate.
Don't panic. Don't celebrate. It is a change to the function, how it works. It has nothing, like, it doesn't change what it does right now. We're just adding another option.
And this is also what we are going for. Instead of trying to completely solve any one problem in Eve and thinking about it for a year and then doing it, we are doing iterative changes to what the things that we are working on, putting it live, learning from it, seeing data, getting feedback from players, working with the CSM, and then continuing it, instead of being overly calculated, waiting for a whole year, doing a change, and then waiting another whole year to do something and trying to get it completely perfect. This is a step process, and I think it's a much more healthier both for us and the players.
Yes
right,
or no?
So instead of it being a Band-Aid, you're not ripping the Band-Aid off asset safety like you did with minerals. It'll be more of an iterative process, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so asset safety is two. There's two reasons it exists. the design philosophy wasn't clear on what is the dominant philosophy. Is it for people who are leaving the game for 9 to 12 months and like want to be able to return, or is it for something else? Like those are always the conversations that come up on Reddit, on any conversation, is like, what is it meant for? And there's just two camps, and we need to align those camps, and this is one step towards that. It's making a conscious choice with regard to asset safety is probably the best way to phrase it.
All right, gentlemen, one last yes or no question, and that is, have you ever thought of making EVE Online a one account per person game? Has that even come up?
It has definitely come up. I can put it that way.
All right.
Okay.
Ratati, you have a yes or no? Have you heard of that?
I don't know what it means. Does it mean like you like a master account, or does it mean like only one account per human?
You only play one character instead of having an army of alts.
Someone will break that system, and that person will have an advantage. So I don't know. Understand.
All right.
I totally agree.
Real quick, just a little funny thing. You guys both occasionally look at other games to see how they develop their stuff. And Ratati, you've played or looked at, what's it called?
Escape from Tarkov.
Not Tarkov, the other one.
PUBG.
Dark Souls.
514.
Dark Souls. No, I was thinking the Dark Souls. Yeah. And Goodfella's looked at Tarkov and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Reflections of EVE in there?
I think we're both hardcore gamers. I've played computer games since I could, move my hands almost. Tarkov is obviously fascinating from an FPS standpoint because it does have a lot of the values of EVE, like where death matters,
losses really meaning,
punishing. Yeah, exactly. Losses meaning. Go ahead.
No, it's the same thing. Dust 5 and 4 is like the best shooter of all time because of that specific thing, like their replenishment and the alliances and all that stuff. I won't waver from that. PUBG and this latter day kind of losses meaning still didn't have permanence, which is why I really don't buy into them. Like I hate starting from scratch every time, so that it just doesn't work for me. Dark Souls plays into that. Like, yeah, it matters, and I think that's also why EVE has stopped mattering in a sense, and I think that's like part of this, like the stagnation that we worry about. But it's funny. Someone told me that Escape from Tarkov, it's pretty cool. It has like kind of, you can shoot their legs and they have to like bandage. And I said, I was playing that in Action Quake 2, a mod, like before you were born. And that is the best shooter of all time. Action Quake 2, just for that. And then Dust 5 and 4. So just so we have those facts, those truths.
Yeah, I mean, what about Dust 515? Like that mixture of that hardcore. In the future, I'm thinking, that mixture between, because I love that. I love that interaction. I thought that was so cool to log in and see like Dust 514 people in chat. I thought that was just the neatest thing. Like, that sort of integration.
That's why I worked so hard on trying to get it onto PC.
Yeah, good. We're a lot of.
On the other hand, we'll cross our fingers, hope for the best.
Yeah. Well, good job so far on this, you guys. Really appreciate you coming and sharing some time with us. That is CCP Goodfella and CCP Ratati. I want to also let you know that in 2 hours, there's going to be a retrospective of EVE cinematics. So you should check that out on the CCP Twitch channel. That is with CCP Convict hosting. They're going to go through old trailers and talk about some of the stuff it took to make those. Do not miss that. That is in 2 hours on CCP's Twitch channel.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Convict. I'm such a fanboy. I love just watching him host anything. It's just so much fun. And I think this is a so fantastic concept. I'm going to be tuning in myself, and I don't know his dev name. The person he will be interviewing, the cinematic, our colleague in cinematics, Zone 3 or whatever.
Zone 3.
He is the if you guys watch the recruitment program video, he is the Dr. Eve in that video. He's like a fantastic British gentleman that is so much fun to work with and discuss. So this is going to be quality content. I can guarantee it.
He made the trailer a long time ago called Eve Never Fades. You should check that out. And then he went to work for CCP after that. So meet him.
I saw that trailer and started working for CCP.
Yeah, that good. Yeah. Awesome. So check that out. That again is in 2 hours. I want to thank again Goodfella, Ratati. Ron, thanks. Good to see you again coming out of Tarkov. Arya, thanks for bringing the questions. And of course, Elise, thank you guys very much. And also thanks to our producer, McLeod, and January, who set up the show, our producer.
Thank you guys so much for having us. It was really good discussion. Yep. And good that we were able to cover also tough topics. I think that's very important. Absolutely. Thanks for not being afraid of your fans. Okay, guys, that's all we have. That's all we have this week. We will see you during the week and next weekend on Talking in Stations. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.